I appreciate all of you being able to make it here tonight with this off again, on again meeting. Just quick explanation. Originally, we had no agenda. There were no items that needed to be acted upon, so I did cancel the meeting. Then in the meantime, the Sheriff's Department had some things that came up and felt that it would be very helpful if we were able to meet on this date and get those things taken care of. So happy to help them. And then in the meantime, we also have an election issue, so worked out very well to schedule this. My apologies to Mr. Yankee. I wouldn't apologize if he was here, but no, he Parks and Rec, unfortunately, we can't make everybody happy and hit it for everyone. But anyway, if we have the roll call, I assume taken. If I could have a motion to approve the agenda, which hopefully you have before you, Supervisor Wagner, seconded by Supervisor Augustine. All in any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Minutes from the October 13th meeting. You have hopefully reviewed those. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Supervisor Poppy, seconded by Supervisor Kroll. Any questions on the minutes, comments, corrections?
There's a few little minor things, but
Not going to quibble with it?
I
Okay.
don't think they changed the intent of the minutes. So,
Well, that's what counts.
yeah.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Public comment. We have anyone who wishes to speak this evening? Anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak? Okay, approve filling of positions. I'm going to turn this over to Sheriff Joski, please.
Alrighty, I'll pop in right here so you guys can hear me. So thank you so much for actually putting this on the agenda and creating the meeting. I really do appreciate it. What we're dealing with over at the Sheriff's Department is some timelines, some compressed timelines with the vacancies. So of course we all know that Chief Deputy Cornelius had posted his or provide his retirement letter, which then sort of starting this chain of events. So the first step has been completed, which was the posting of the chief deputy position, subsequent interviews, and then the selection. So just for everyone's awareness, we did have those two sets of interviews. The first was done with a panel of sheriffs from around the state, as well as our current chief deputy. And the second one was myself and the county administrator. And then subsequent to those interviews, Lieutenant Jason Vaser has been offered the job, and he has accepted to become Kewaunee County's next chief deputy. So that's where we are with that. So that being said, we need then to follow up with sort of how this is going to cascade throughout the department. So in 6A, we're talking specifically about the lieutenant position. So what we'd be more specifically requesting to post, it would be the lieutenant of operations. That would be the current vacancy with Jason taking this role. So that would be the first one that we would request to fill. And then what I'm asking in 6B would be for those subsequent vacancies, because again, this is going to cascade rather quickly, and we like to be able to then act upon whatever vacancy results really up until we get to the point of that entry level jailer dispatcher. That's how this is all going to kind of roll out as we fill these roles. So that's the request between 6A and 6B is the immediate position for the lieutenant of operations, as well as those subsequent vacancies that become available as we fill these roles.
Okay, and we don't know what those subsequent vacancies would be because that would be impacted by each hiring,
Absolutely.
right?
So, well, I guess what I would say is regardless of where they would
Right.
come from, whether it be investigation, sergeant patrol, these are all essential positions that I don't think we would ever sit down and consider not filling them. So I would hope we take sort of a leap of faith and say, yes, every one of these cascading down are not new positions, but rather just vacancies are going to be created due to that retirement. And we're not looking at doing any transition. So we understand that, Jason will fill the role of chief deputy upon the absence of the chief deputy and subsequent, for each one of those. So basically on that date of, I think it's January 22nd, basically everybody takes one step right. And that was really my goal, is that we can have all this in order so that we're not sort of languishing around trying to fill openings while people are trying to fill their new roles. Let's get everybody where they need to be so then all they have to do is take one step right and we're golden.
Sure, and then the final thing would be some entry-level position will ultimately be at the end of it.
Right.
Okay, well, that's simple enough. And of course, I assume he passed the most important part of the being a lieutenant is being able to spell the word lieutenant.
I still struggle with that.
Very few people can do that. I'm sure that was given in the exam.
LT.
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 Okay.
Like they say in the military, you can't spell lost without LT, right, Chuck?
Do I have a motion? How do you want this? Could you know how to word this?
I will word one and we'll see.
Okay.
First of all, I want to just congratulate Jason. I think it's a great move. I think Jason has exemplified the positions that he's been in. He's done a great job for the county. I've known him since he first got here, and he's always done a great job.
Echo that, Supervisor Wagner.
How many years have you been with the department, Jason?
25 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So anyway, and with that, I would move that we move to fill that lieutenant's position and the subsequent positions as they come about.
Okay. Is that the wording does that wording work, Mr. Wisnicki? That work?
Mr. Chair.
Excellent. Do I have a second for that
Second.
motion? Second from Mr. Supervisor Romden. Discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving on then. Consider payment of election recount workers. I'm going to turn that over to Jamie. Just real quick, for full disclosure, my wife is a chief election inspector versus what they call the rest of them. I've never understood this in Wisconsin. Poll workers.
Is she looking for a job?
Just seems so inappropriate, but I believe that I will abstain from the vote, and I believe that would make everything fine, corporate counsel.
Would she be in a position to collect the recount?
Potentially.
If she would volunteer to work, which we're looking for, so.
But then again, this wage you might be debating is across the board.
Across the board.
You're not going to slice and dice to someone.
No, and in this example or case, it would not be paid by the county for this one. So that might make a difference as well.
Ah, okay.
I think you
Okay.
can participate in this year, but if you certainly want it, then that's your election.
Well, given the fact that I do not believe that my vote will tip the outcome of this particular ballot. I do not believe that it will be like the presidential election, so I will abstain. I wouldn't want anybody to think that extra $2. These people work for a pittance. It's really pathetic. I am amazed that you get people to do this at all. I mean, I think it's great that my wife does, and I sort of support it. I think it's great that she does, but when you have these elections, it violates one of my rules, and that is that nobody is supposed to be up in the house before me. And, they have to be up at ridiculous times, and it just really, people in my way, it's terrible. Go ahead.
I'm just coming before you because I feel like Kewaunee County could use a look at what we're paying our recount workers. Right now, the last time we had one was 2016, and because we didn't really have a classification of recount workers, we used the Board of Canvassers, and I realized then that we were underpaying quite significantly compared to other counties. So I had always intended to bring this before you, and of course hoping there would never be another recount, but here we are. And so the Board of Canvassers previously was $40 for 5 hours, so that's $8 an hour, and $60 over 5 hours. And I will tell you, it wouldn't be unheard of to have a 10-hour day, and they're going to get $60.
It's definitely not unheard of.
Right. So that being said, I had asked some other counties to please give what they're currently paying, which I provided the ones that have answered. It was a short time period. I think I asked on Friday, so I apologize for that. But and I did hand that out, so it should be on your desks. But these are, the amounts, and the most common is anywhere between 20 and 25. There are some 15s out there. But I guess I'm not looking to throw a dollar amount out there, but asking for the county to suggest.
Okay, so you're looking for somebody on this committee to make a suggestion.
I would also add that this recount will be during Thanksgiving and deer hunting. So
I'll make a motion. I move that we set the wage at $20 an hour.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Supervisor Augustine. It's probably a good thing I'm abstaining from this because, for a lot of reasons, but, people know that it's never my nature to vote in favor of spending increases. So, going home tonight, if I voted against it, would have been unpleasant. Any other discussion? Yes,
Point of
sir.
clarification, if I may, Supervisor Wagner. We are only doing this for recount workers.
Correct,
Thank you.
correct.
Yeah, so that will help you to be able to get recount workers. Real quick, how long do you, what kind of total hours are we looking at? What kind of a process is this for you?
So the candidate has a day after results are certified. They're looking at a date of either the 18th or the 19th is the last I heard of from the Wisconsin Elections Commission. So we should know within 24 hours of that date. And then you have 13 days to complete it. Once you go into session, you can only unconvene for 24 hours. So we're unfortunately at very strange timing because of Thanksgiving and the weekends to find consecutive days that would work very well. So I'm a little concerned on that end, but we'll get through it.
And what is your process for, they all get run through the machine again?
Right.
And then what about our, ones that could not be run through the machine? Are there question mark ballots?
There are the Edge, which is our touchscreen machine, cannot be run again. So those are hand tallied. It's quite a process. The ballots will get run through again. So that's helpful. And then obviously all of the write-ins get relooked at. We double check absentee envelopes, which is significant this time.
Right.
It'll be a process. I think last time it was about 3.5 days.
Wow.
But I'm trying, hopefully, to get more workers to make it go a little quicker this time.
And what length of days? What are the days that you then? Are you talking 8-hour days? Or are you talking 10, 12?
I would like to start like 8 to 5, but then depending on how it's playing out, we may have to increase that. Yeah. I would like to start as soon as possible and be done prior to Thanksgiving. So.
Fascinating. Supervisor Romden.
Just a policy question, I guess. The Republican Party, I'm assuming, is asking for the recount of the Trump campaign.
They haven't yet.
They haven't, but they have to wait until all 72 counties have completed their canvass.
Right, and we have until the 17th to do that. Brown County Clerk did think it would take that long for them.
So then once the recount is done in all 72 counties and those numbers are forwarded, then it's up to the Secretary of State to certify the election in the state?
Wisconsin Elections Commission will send a certification, and then yes, it's
Okay.
deemed certified. So it could be like the 18th, the 19th. We're not really 100% sure yet, but
Thank you.
yeah.
I don't want to go too much in the weeds on this because we're probably getting a little bit further into this, and I don't want to keep everybody here just for my own personal interest. But why does it take some of these counties so long?
They do
really
have-
a long way out.
Sure, they do have a choice to hand count versus using machines. Like I will not use machines on all of them. We were chosen randomly for 3 election equipment audits this year. If you hand count those, there's a potential that then we don't have to convene after the recount to do those again. So I would do that rather than have to 3 more times meet after this recount. So, there are different scenarios. Each county could have up to 4 of those. So that's one caveat there. And anytime, there's more voters, it's more to go through. So, Kewaunee's smaller, and we're fortunate that way as far as the numbers. But, when you're talking your big cities, or it can take a while. Registrations were very high this year. We had I think we had almost 150 in the city of Kewaunee alone. That's just election day, not prior to election. So.
Yes, sir. Supervisor Round.
Just a curiosity question. Are you guys responsible then when you do this recount? Do you have to go back and check all the absentee envelopes and make sure they're signed and witnessed and all that good stuff?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, fabulous. Any other questions? Okay. You have a motion before you. We have the motion. Everybody heard it. We don't need to reread it. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so the next 2 items, these are just, these were previously brought forward, but I've had a lot of questions on them. So, I agreed to put them before this board again. If we do not wish to, if there are no motions or no desire to take up again, then we'll keep driving. Reconsideration of help desk specialist, GIS coordination compensation. As I understand, the questions that were being asked to me were, to get straight to the point, why are we paying someone to train? So I don't know if there's a desire to take it up again, or if there's questions on it. Yes, sir. Supervisor Poppy.
I guess I was the one that asked Chairman Olson to think about putting
You
this
weren't
back.
the only one.
Okay, well, I did talk to you about it. And the reason I talked to him about it is I did vote for this. I voted in favor of it, but after thinking about this, the question was, why are we paying somebody to train when you take a position to step up and training is required? Then I guess you do the training when you get the job, or you get the increase if there is one. Secondly, are we setting a precedence here because next year down the road, somebody wants to move up a position and they can come back and say, well, past practice. You did it for this person. Those were the couple things that were bothering me. I have nothing against somebody moving up. I think it's great. I think if they can get a pay increase by doing this, bettering themselves, that's the kind of people we're looking for. But the question was, have we in the past paid somebody to train? I don't know.
Do we know? Does anybody know? Have we in the past paid people to train? I guess I don't. I still don't know. I think it would depend maybe on the position and department, possibly.
Historically, what happens is that there's both training. Sure. Do we pay people to be trained? Yes. When someone takes a new position, of course, there is on-the-job training that happens, whether that's human services, whether that's the sheriff's department or the like. In fact, with the sheriff's department, with the radio operator dispatcher, you have the field training officer working through that to make sure that they get their dispatch, that they get their certifications. In that same respect, have we paid employees to receive training? Have we paid employees a higher wage prior to taking a position? I do not have any historical data on that. But again, the question that is for the consideration of the committee is 2 different things, and they are both related and unrelated at the same time, is the wage of the position and whether that is within the market range of the current labor market. And then second is the idea of, are we training this person to take on a new position, and therefore paying for that training and paying them? The other question then that comes down to, if I'm that staff employee, is to a certain degree, I don't know if I do the training and not get paid for it, and now there's this new position, there's nothing in the current wage scale that therefore that shows me or demonstrates to me that I will receive a wage increase after receiving this training and taking on new duties. So there's a little bit of that as well.
And I have just one other question, and would this not be a job that's posted internally so that other people can put their name in for it?
Good question, I do not know.
We could post it internally. That's something that when it comes to employee recruitment, we can post, we can decide not to post. It is my feeling as county administrator that there is very few, if any, other employees that would fit the job duties of GIS coordinator, where it would then fit within. You have the only other person that could be thought of would be the real estate property lister, and from that conversation, that my understanding is not an interest of that staff member. So then all we would be left to do is to contract out for the GIS position.
I have a question. So how many hours a week will he be training? So if it's a 40-hour week, how many hours is he doing his normal job? And how many hours is he training? And then second, how long is this training going on? Is it a month, or is he rolling in after a couple months into his position?
Right. And I'll be honest, that's probably best answered by our IT director, Ross Loining.
Ross, do you have an answer to those questions?
Presently, right now, he's already gone through an educational period of training that lasted a week that he's done. Now he's doing basically on-site training with Steve Hansen. Steve Hansen has been out with COVID concerns for a while, so there's not a one-on-ones, but whenever Steve gets a split that he has to do, he gives it to Kevin to do the split right along with him. So every time that there's this information that needs to be handled, he's doing that. Also, when Steve comes back, he's going to be doing more intensive type training with Kevin that will lead all the way up until Steve retires. Because GIS is not necessarily an easy position to conquer. Mm-hmm. So he will continue to be doing training all the way up until Steve retires.
I have another question then in that regard. The help desk specialist, are we going to be asked at some point, assuming that he moves into this, that he takes on those duties, are we going to be asked to replace that position or add additional staffing?
At this point, I'm looking to basically merge the two positions together and put them in IT, and then we run with two individuals.
Do you feel you'll be able to accomplish that?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I'm just saying, I can see Gerald's point. So we have another, position that opens up and somebody wants to train. So are they going to say, well, don't I get that extra amount? And yeah, it could start a cycle.
Well, and I guess I wasn't I assumed, and I probably shouldn't have, that, this was a position where the person training right now would be full-time in that spot and not,
Correct. It's
that
a merger.
wasn't explained really. I don't think, if it was, I missed it. Apologize for that, but I still have a hard time with the, training. I don't know. Maybe it's me.
Yes, Supervisor Wagner?
Well, we have a lot of positions in the county that require training when they get here. Nobody's
True.
Totally 100%, they don't start from day one being a fully qualified person. And in some cases, it's quite lengthy. I mean, in the sheriff's department or in the dispatch and everything, that can be 6 months,
I think I think
So,
the question is here is that you're paying an extra wage. We're paying an extra $7,000 for the training.
right, over the course of a year, the $7,000, the additional money. But the person is doing the work while they're training. They're getting work done, okay? And they're contributing to that. They may be even contributing new ideas along the way to even make that process even better. There's a lot of things that come into this, and I don't think, I guess I don't see this as being out of the ordinary. To the question as far as setting a precedent or something like that, we set precedents every day. Anytime there's a new decision or any decision made, that's a new precedent. But the other thing is, anybody else that comes along that wants that type of change has to come back to here to make another request. So we determine each one of them based on their own merits, and we don't come up with, well, you did it for the last guy, you got to do it for me. No, that's not the way it works.
Supervisor Augustine?
Scott, you may be able to help answer this for me, but wasn't our discussion with the help desk specialists, they were at the top of the pay scale, and the reason we decided to do that $7,000 bump to the GIS was because they had no more room to move, and with him taking on both positions, that's kind of why we decided to give him that.
Supervisor Augustine, I think there may have been a misunderstanding. The current position is not at the top of the scale. We had some others that were, but we were looking at two different things. One was the labor market part of it, just for the help desk position itself, of which we see that from the comparisons, we're much lower than a lot of our peers. And then if you were to add on to the GIS those additional duties, as well as what GIS coordinators in other counties are being paid, that is where the thought was for the increase for the salary. If I may make a suggestion to the county, to this committee, I understand Supervisor Poppy's concern about paying someone to train before they've taken the position. Usually what happens is we have the person take the position and then train them. Also the issue of a precedent. I think maybe to kind of, I don't want to say cut the baby in half, but maybe a good halfway point is this from a staff standpoint and a department standpoint. I think what the department and the staff would be looking for is some type of, what do I want to call it? Some type of comfort or resolution that, okay, if the training goes well, and therefore he takes on the new position of GIS help desk coordinator, that the new salary range would therefore be instituted and followed. So what you could possibly do is sometime in 2021, when Mr. Hansen, the land information director, does retire, and those duties of GIS coordination are then transferred over to Mr. Donlin, that he then be put into that wage scale for the help desk GIS coordinator at that time. But then he has the comfort of knowing that in the future that if he takes on these duties, he's going to be paid for them, as opposed to I did all this and now there's no compensation for it. So he has that comfort of knowing that that's going to happen. But in that same respect, to address Mr. Poppy's concerns, we're not paying someone to be trained to do it if they don't necessarily take the position. Because what could happen, though I don't think it will from what I've seen from Kevin, is let's say it could be spring of 2021 and it's just not working out. Well, then we're not out anything because he is not the help desk GIS coordinator. So therefore, there is no extra salary in that respect for those duties that he then did not take on. But if he does assume those duties, he does know the wage scale that he's going to go into. That's just as a suggestion. Again, the committee has complete authority as to what to do.
Supervisor Romden?
That was kind of basically what I was going to suggest, is that I don't, the individual is currently employed, and somewhere in his daily schedule, he's finding time to work with Steve periodically to get this training. I don't think we should be paying somebody that wage unless he's actually doing the job fully. So I would go along with that suggestion from what Scott had mentioned,
Well-
is that we not pay the individual any extra money while he's training. Once he takes over the position, then make an adjustment in the salary.
Supervisor Poppy?
So if he would decide to take that position, is he moving up in a pay scale?
My suggestion would be then, if from his current position, that he would be somewhere between step 1 and step 3 of the new scale.
What is?
That's not what I asked. I said, is he moving up in a pay scale per hour?
Yes, that would be, I think what you're asking, is that an increase in pay?
Correct.
Yes.
Without this?
No.
He's asking what is he at and what would he move to if he accepts the position?
I believe his current scale is 1910, I believe. And so if
So he took the position?
so he would stay at 1910, and if he were to take the position, it would be somewhere between 24.5 and 25.23.
Thank you.
Does that clarify? Okay. All right, is there a motion of some sort? What do you do? Are we going to leave it? What do you desire to do, folks?
I would like to make a motion that we would, at the time he takes the position and is doing the work for that job, he gets a pay increase.
And the pay increase is set, what it would be? What we would be going to? Correct?
As a clarification, at least for right now, this committee has not approved a GIS help desk specialist pay scale.
So. you
So
can
the
do one
pay
of two-
scale was on the,
Right, so you could
Sorry.
do one of two things. We could do a few things. We could do nothing, leave it stand. Doesn't sound like there's a necessarily consensus for that. We could pass Supervisor Poppy's motion with the proviso that we are going to come back soon and set what that pay scale would be. So you could punt it for tonight. Or we can sit here without a lot of information gathered ahead of time and stare at each other until, 8, 9 o'clock tonight and then try to come up with the pay scale. What's your pleasure?
Well, point of order, I guess I would like to second, there should be a second to
Sure.
Mr. Poppy's motion. And I don't believe, if I understand your motion, I don't believe it really specifies what dollar amount he's going to.
Correct. I mean, if the person does the job, he should get the increase of pay. I'm not against that.
Your motion is that we would not pay for the training, but we would, when if he completes the training and accepts the position, we would give him a pay increase. That's the motion?
Thank you. Yes, it is.
Okay, that's a yes. Did you sec, that's your sec, you're
And I
okay
would
with
second
seconding
that
that?
motion.
Okay,
So that we can discuss it, then I guess,
okay. Discussion?
Yes, has
Supervisor
I'm
Augustine,
sorry.
then Romden. Go ahead, Supervisor Augustine.
has he got the pay increase already for, he did receive it for training already, right?
No.
no, this would not happen until 2021. This is part of the budget.
Okay.
So Supervisor Romden.
Just for clarification, when he completes the training and he does take the job, then that wage issue would come back to this committee for a decision on what the actual wage is going to be.
Yes, but we would need to set that wage.
Yes.
Before that time. In fact, it's not part of the motion, and that's fine, but when ideally should we be getting that wage set, and what is the process? What would be a good process for that? Can you give me some suggestions here?
Certainly. Similar to what I had done for making the original pay plan, I received wage scales from 16 counties, 3 that are neighbors, another 10 that are within the labor market area, and then about 4 that I call peer counties, which are counties that are our population size that are adjacent to larger counties. Receive those pay scales, and then find those find those, do calculations as to an average, and then present that wage scale to the committee for approval.
And this will be a little bit more complicated because this is going to be a combined position. So, but you're confident that working with Ross, you're going to be able to come back with a good, solid recommendation to us in what time frame?
What time frame would the committee like?
I would prefer next month. But that may be a little unrealistic just
That
because
may
I
be,
don't-
right, that may be a little unrealistic only because of the holidays, but if we do January,
Jan-
February, I think
take-
we may be
take
okay.
January, February, but I just want to make sure that we get this moving as quickly as possible.
I agree.
Because with the action, if this action is approved tonight, he's probably going to be, I don't know, he may be thinking, gee, I just had some money taken away, so we want to make sure that we're going to be in a position pretty quickly to be able to, demonstrate some good faith and show him that we're going to compensate
Right.
for the position.
And
so
that
I don't want
wage-
to leave him hanging.
Right, and that wage scale was in your packet last executive committee. Was it last one or the one before that?
The one before that.
September.
Yeah,
Okay. So we'll be able to get that done. Ideally would be January since, I certainly think it's, I don't think that the committee desires to be unfair to the
No.
employee either and make them think, hey, we're kind of taking something away and not giving. I think that I don't get any impression that it's the desire of this committee at all to not give, a fair pay increase and adequate compensation once the position is taken on. So I don't want to see it delayed endlessly and this person is wondering,
correct.
not that we would ever make promises and then kick them down the road, and down the road. All right, so any other discussion?
You have to
Yes.
finish the motion. So we all have to say aye or nay.
Yeah,
Correct.
any other
Okay.
discussion? Okay, no further discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Reconsideration of contract position to county position. I don't really want to get into the habit of bringing stuff back, but when there's a fair number of questions and we're having a meeting before we go to full board, I think that this is helpful to have a bit more clarity or consensus before we go to full board tomorrow. And if there are questions on this, then we can bring them up now. And so this is relating to what we had. We have 5 contract workers in the county. This is basically for each of those positions. If we make them county employees, it increases it by $17,333, if I remember correctly. And the motion of this committee was to add one of them at this time. The desire being that eventually all 5 of them become county employees. That would add roughly $80-some thousand, right? To the $87,000 roughly to the county. Supervisor Romden? Yes.
I don't remember if I voted to support this originally or not.
You did.
I did. Well, after thinking about it, I guess if you look at this and you're adding 5, and ultimately adding 5 full-time people to the county's staff, as financial stewards of the county and the taxpayers' money, we should be looking at shrinking government and the county expenditure, not growing it. And, if this contracting service has worked out for all these years, I don't know why we need to go back and, okay, let's hire these people full-time. Why can't we keep contracting?
We've been doing it for a lot of years, and a lot of other counties do it. It seems to serve the county quite well.
Can I bring up a point here? At one point, these were full-time employees.
That I am unsure. I have only been with the county this is my 6th year. I'm sorry,
A number
Mayor.
of years ago, these were, and when the state merged the entire human services ADRC, they wanted everything, they wanted a one-stop shop. That's why we built this addition back here. And And the reason that was done was because it was basically at the directive of the state. We had to bring all these people together. Because we had people in the annex building across from the courthouse, we had people in Algoma,
Sure.
we had people over in the school. What school was that here in Kewaunee? Anyway, we had them, they were scattered out everywhere.
Right.
And so they wanted them all to be together. What came about after that was a whole realignment at the state level with a bunch of these employees, and then they took, they wanted the ADRC and they wanted the office down in Manitowoc having some of our employees, and we wanted those employees to keep working with the clients that we had in the county. So in order to do that, the best move at the time was to make them contract employees so that they could keep working. What came up subsequently after that, the letter that we got from Melissa concerning the wait lists. In Madison, a little while back, a couple of years ago, there was a lot of discussion about the waiting lists that are in different counties. And some counties have wait lists that are just unbelievable. Kewaunee County, basically because of much to the credit of the workers that we have, did not have such a long or big waiting list of clients. That's changed a little bit. And so now it's become important, and now the state is dictating that they want no waiting lists. They want every county to have enough employees to handle the people that are on their, that they have to deal with. So that's what's driving this decision. That, as well as the fact that other counties are going to be offering positions because they need to hire more employees to take the people off their waiting lists. So that's why for us to get these people, and this is one position, yes, we can look at eventually, but eventually may never happen. I mean, we don't know. None of us can predict the future that well. We can guess, but that's about it. So, like I said, at one point, these were, we had left about 15 people go, I think, at that time.
Any other discussion? Mr. Romden? Oh, did you?
I'll make a motion if you want one.
You look like you were doing something. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump the gun. Are you either scratching yourself or getting ready to make a motion? Sounds like you're ready to make a motion.
I would just move that we recommend that the contract position that's currently in the 2021 budget be removed, and any future changes to contract employees not happen. We'll continue to contract employees as needed.
Okay, so you're gonna need to clean that up a bit. So you're wanting to keep the contract position as a contract position and not make it a county employee.
That is correct.
That's the motion.
That's simple.
Okay, is there a second? All right, moving on.
No one has any problem of growing the government.
Well, I do, but I'm just guiding the meeting along. Yeah. All right, motion to enter into closed session.
Is there anything after?
No.
Sir?
We will basically at this point cancel the YouTube. So the Zoom meeting will continue, but we will be recording.
Okay. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? Closed session, sorry.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Supervisor Kroll, second by Haskey. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.